What's up, everybody? The CFL season is here, so that means another season preview. And today we're talking defending champion Saskatchewan Roughriders. Hey, I said CFL season is starting, not the Saskatchewan Roughriders season. They are going to have to wait another week before they get going. Regardless, I'm here with CJME and CKOM Riders reporter Britton Gray. Appreciate you joining, man. How are things?
Good, good. I was actually just out of my cabin because there's a week one bye in Saskatchewan this week, so it's weird. You get wrapped up for training camp. The Riders also had the bye week in the last week of the preseason. It's been a long time since I've had to worry about covering a game and kind of this team heading into one.
Well, we are. I'm going to be re-racking your brain here as we are. The league's starting to ramp up, but maybe the
Mhm.
Saskatchewan Roughriders are almost getting an extra week of camp. How? I guess we'll start right because it's part of the season. Hey, they're getting this long time off heading into their actual first game. Do you think this could be a negative effect, a positive effect, or do you think it just really is what it is?
It just really is what it is. I think you could have more discussion if they weren't facing the BC Lions, who are also on a bye week. They're in the same sort of boat where they kind of have to just wait, get things going. BC that have the preseason game in the third week of the preseason, but I don't think that's really going to matter. It's preseason football. The starters don't play a whole lot anyway in the CFL, so I don't think it's going to matter. But I just in the future, I know I've talked about this on X and everything. It feels like the CFL is just missing out on marquee matchups to really kick off their season. You have the defending Grey Cup champions off. Nathan Rourke isn't playing this week, the reigning MOP. I know the schedule is finalized before the Grey Cup, and I get that, but there has to be some wiggle room. You want CFL week one, I think, to be a big event, and it just doesn't quite feel that way this week when you have so many of these big names off.
Yeah, I wonder how much the World Cup has caused
Mm-hmm.
some of this, but regardless, I guess we'll see what happens in the future. But I'll let you. Let's get to the actual, on-field football team part of it. Hey, I'll let you pick. Would you rather? We're gonna be talking offense, defense, and the general themes of the team. But would you rather start with the offense, Britain, or head over to the defense?
Let's start with the offense just because there's not a whole lot of changes. The defense, there was a lot more moves in the offseason. So, offense, it's pretty much what you saw from last season with this team.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's a little bit of a change. We'll get into
Mhm.
that, but yeah, this is an offense that where it was pretty balanced to me in 2025, and they were able to do a lot of different things. Obviously, I want to start up front. Maybe talking about the offensive line and the run game isn't the sexiest thing, Britain, but hey, it's honestly the Riders' identity, right? They want to establish that run game, Mark Mueller and co. And when you have those guys up front, I mean, three all CFLers in Logan Ferlin, Jacob Brammer, who developed into one of the best run blockers last season and one of the best overall offensive linemen. And then obviously 𝙎𝙪𝙗𝙧𝙗𝙧𝙗𝙧 who's been a standout for many of years now. Tell me what you've seen in the run game from the big boys up front. Even someone like Peyton Collins broke out last season, a 3.0 pressure rate allowed in his rookie year in 2025. That was the third best among all tackles. I think there's a little something to be said at that left guard spot, but what have you seen from the guys up front here?
It's going to be business as usual. I fully expect this group to once again be one of the top offensive lines in the CFL if they can all stay healthy. Obviously, we know what AJ Olette brings, and not just in terms of his running abilities, but he fires the team up a little bit with his play. He's the guy out there celebrating a little bit. He lets guys know, and this team definitely runs through AJ Olette and what he kind of brings there. But you mentioned it. I mean, Peyton Collins, Logan Ferlin, Jacob Bramer, Jamarcus Hardrick, four of the five starting linemen from the Grey Cup game are there. Of course, they went with the extra American in the game.
Right.
So I'm really excited for what Peyton Collins brings this year. He kind
Mm.
of burst onto the scene last year. I think he'll be even better this year. And he's a guy, if he develops like I think he's going to, do you maybe lose him to the NFL opportunities? Does he maybe get those? Because I think he is that good of an offensive lineman. I expect him to be better. I mean, Logan Ferlin, what more can you say about him? I thought he was ranked a little low on the recent top 50 list here because, yes, he plays center, but he's played everything for
Yeah,
this
he does
team.
everything.
he has the ability to go to any position. Someone gets hurt, you can move him around. He had never played center before
That's
last
right.
season and
Yeah.
really became one of the top ones in the entire CFL. I like what he's going to. I mean, 𝙎𝙪𝙗𝙧𝙗𝙧𝙗𝙧, obviously the reigning most outstanding offensive lineman in the league. That left guard spot is going to be interesting.
Mm.
Zach Fry, I believe, will get the start there when they eventually do play in week 2. He's a guy this team has liked since they drafted him. When we asked Jeremy O'Day about him, they said his footwork was the best in the entire draft class, and that's something you can't necessarily teach. It was something natural. Of course, Jeremy O'Day, and a former offensive lineman, they really like what Zach Fry can do. But who's going to push him this year is Eric Anderson, who, of course,
Mm.
was the top offensive lineman from U Sports last season. We know how good he can be. I think it's going to be a battle there. If Zach Fry does struggle, I don't think this team will have an issue going to Eric Anderson, but it's going to be Zach Fry. Allow the veteran kind of show what he can do. But once again, I believe this is going to be one of, if not the best offensive line groups. Of course, injuries can happen, but over the
Yeah.
last couple of seasons, they've been really good at finding guys. They've had a lot of injuries in that group, and it
Yeah.
feels like whoever they've brought in has looked good. They haven't looked out of place. Until something goes horribly wrong, I have to believe the coaching staff is going to have answers.
I mean, even to I'm thinking back to the start of last season where, at the start of the camp, you have someone like Sean McEwen who's supposed to be the center, and then he goes down with an ACL, and then right from the jump, the whole offensive line has to be reshuffled, and they were just dominant last season. So it's really the start of, it's really the foundation, obviously, of this whole offense, and they have a big job of keeping Trevor Harris upright because when Trevor Harris plays a full season for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, they win the Grey Cup, right? If he's healthy. So hopefully they can do that again. But yeah, Fry, over 1,000 snaps the past 2 seasons combined. He fits in that mauling in between the tackles run game that they want to do. So yeah, like you mentioned, Eric Anderson there. I guess former fifth round pick Daniel Johnson is still in the mix. Hey, I know he's
Mm-hmm.
banged up a little bit, but I mean, has some higher upside, I feel. So yeah, they got some practice squad guys too. Honestly, it's a very, very, very solid group up front. And then you mentioned Olet and how he gets the guys fired up. He just has seemingly fit in from not just a football standpoint, but a personality standpoint. Can you just talk to me a little bit more about that culture? Like I've talked to Trevor Harris about just the overall culture and the trust that is built in with this team between those guys, between Corey Mace, between Jeremy O'Day.
Yeah, I mean, when AJ Ouellette signed here, everyone said there was no better connection than AJ Ouellette going to Saskatchewan with his personality, a little bit of cowboy in him,
Yeah.
a little bit of that hard working. And that's really what this team, when Corey Mace first got hired on at his opening conference, he said, we want a team that's built like Saskatchewan, hardworking, blue collar, getting dirty when you need to, right? Kind of that's what they're building. And that's what they've really gone out and found guys to do. And yeah, AJ Ouellette's been a big part of that, of course. He's one of the top pass blocking running backs. He's really good
Mm.
at pass blocking, which a lot of people might not recognize. And so he's done that. Him and Trevor Harris pretty much drove up, except for this season, drove up together every year and got to know each other through that. And it's just this group, in order to win a championship, you do need that family feel. You have to
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
the brotherhood and stuff. This group's really done it. AJ Ouellette has been a big part of that, and as mentioned, he just fits right in Saskatchewan when you think of what he kind of brings just personality wise.
Right. And I mean, next to Harris, like you mentioned, they've gotten really close. He turns 40, or he might turn 40 today, or it's right before week one, I had in my notes. So, I mean, he's coming off one of his best seasons as a pro in 2025. I remember the quote he had where after the Great Cup, where he was somewhere in between his prime and what it was, retiring, I think is what he said. So, I guess we'll see what we get out of Trevor Harris, 24 touchdowns to only 11 interceptions last season. Let's go to where there has been some change. There's been some shakeup, which is the receiving core, whether it's guys coming back from injury or some guys have taken off. Basically, out is Dante Myers, who's in the NFL, who was just fantastic last season. Tommy Neal bolted to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Robustelli's with the Elks. Mitch Picton retired. Joe has been released slash suspended. Now, a lot of those guys kind of had kind of came up because of other injuries and the guys who were actually still on the team. But tell me what you've seen from this receiving core here, because despite all those losses, it's still a core that features two former 1,000-yard receivers and another one who almost has had 1,000 yards in 𝙎𝙗𝙤𝙧𝙗𝙧𝙗𝙧 So tell me what you've seen from this receiver core. It looks like we have a rookie American who's going to be starting, a couple of other Americans who've made some noise as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the pass catchers.
Yeah, I feel like even the receivers are maybe a little underrated when you look at this team and everyone's doing their previews. I see him. I mean, we know how good Keyshawn Johnson is. And in my opinion, he is a top 5 route runner in the league. He is very crisp at the routes. He knows where to go. He's pretty much Mr. Second Down for the Riders
Yeah.
as Trevor Harris is looking his way. And you saw with the targets and how he was often looked for to convert. Sam Emilus, there's debate for it. I think he is the best Canadian wide receiver in the CFL when he is healthy. If you put his stats from last season over the full 18 games, it was be about 1,300 yards, double-digit touchdowns. He's very good. Kean Schaefer-Baker missed a lot of last season, a little slow coming back. People forget how good he can be. He is one of the toughest guys I've seen to get brought down covering football.
Yeah.
It feels like the first defender never takes him to the ground. He battles through, finds yards after the catch. Del Duncan Busby, he's going to come in. He was the starter to begin last season. Now it's up to him to take those steps, develop. This team still really likes what Del Duncan Busby does, not just in terms of a pass catcher. He's an underrated blocker. He's pretty good at run blocking as well. That's something this team really wants their players to do. Sam Emilus is a major proponent of that as well. He is very physical in the run game. And you mentioned the American. There's going to be one. We believe it's Jalen Johnson. He's probably going to start week 1 or week 2 here for the Riders. Honestly, a little surprised by that just because he hasn't popped like some of the guys we've seen, even a guy
Mm,
like Abdul Jana who got
yeah.
released actually. Matthew Sexton's had a big game. Johnny Johnson had big games. But when we talked to Corey Mace about Jalen Johnson when he was first running with the starters, he said there's 2 things about him. They love his blocking, and he does a lot of things right on special teams. And that's a great way to earn a professional football job, is by being able to do that as a receiver. He seems to be doing that really well. He was a little nicked up at the end of training camp, so excited to see when we get back out to practice what he does and what this coaching staff saw from him to give him the opportunity over some of these other guys who kind of popped. And we're okay, of course, in Saskatchewan, we all want to see what Daniel Weeb can eventually do. Former U of S Husky, had a really solid training camp, really good preseason. They went with the veteran here in Deshaun Mims, who
Yeah.
appears, I assume he is going to start on the active roster over Daniel Weeb, but boy, he has to push off Daniel Weeb because that is a talented receiver they have as well.
Yeah, it's a very interesting group. And if you haven't been too tapped in with the Rough Riders, you may know Keyshawn Johnson. You should know Keyshawn Johnson. But yes, there's also a Jalen Johnson and now a Johnny Johnson, who was a late addition to camp, who made the practice squad, which was honestly pretty impressive for
Mm-hmm.
how late he came in and how many other talented receivers. It felt like they had a really solid group of American receivers come in this year. And then, I mean, of course, Sexton has gotten a lot of the love, and he's on the practice squad right now. So overall, I think it's going to be, like you mentioned, right off the top, should look pretty similar to what we've seen from a Mark Mueller offense heading into year 3 now, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Physical, in between the tackles, run game. While Harris is efficient, takes care of the ball, dissects the coverage with his experience, and finds his field stretchers in those the sort of big 3 that we mentioned with Schaefer, Baker, Johnson, Emilus, and then you have your other guys, DDB and Johnson, whoever else is in there, sort of supplementing that group. So should be once again a fun offense. Interested to see those Canadian receivers because they were held to, I believe, just 12 games combined in 2025. I believe Schaefer Baker got hurt on like the second play of the season, right? And was out for a very long time. I mean, and then you mentioned MLS's numbers. I think he had the second most yards per game. Like you mentioned, when you rack it up, he'd be one of the best um, receivers in the CFL last season. All right, to the defense, where, yes, like you mentioned, there have been some departures. I guess let's start up front because I feel like that was the real identity of this team last season, just how physical and disruptive they were in the front 7. It's basically a whole new look. You got new guys on the edges, new guys on the weak side and on the strong side in the linebacker spots. Talk to me about the defense, the front seven, and what you've seen from camp.
Yeah, no, when I look at this team and their strategy for this offseason, it was let's bring back as many people as we can on the offense, keep that comfortable, and allow Corey Mace and his defensive mind and his ability to produce superstars and develop guys. Let him bring in new guys and bring in the next ones. And that's really what I saw when you look at who they brought in. I mean, we can start along the defensive line here. As you mentioned, it's going to be the identity of this team. Corey Mace, former defensive lineman. This team believes stopping the run will lead to success because you force teams to just give up on it. And when teams become one dimensional, that's what you want as a defense because you know they're throwing it. Then you can start to bait guys into stuff, force those turnovers. And so, I mean, I think this is still going to be a very good group. I mean, Mike Rose, we know how good he is, a veteran in this league. We know how good he can be. Caleb Sanders is going to come in for the retired Micah Johnson, who is now his defensive line coach in Saskatchewan. But the Caleb Sanders, there, you really noticed it last season when he was out of the lineup. Teams were able to run the football on the Riders. It was two
Hmm.
completely different run defense when he was out there. So I'm excited to see what he can do now as a starter and maybe getting more opportunity. Ollie Sod, of course, the first round draft pick from a couple of years ago. I expect him to kind of really take a step forward. This team goes down and gets James Waters, who was coached by Corey Mace. There's a lot of former Calgary Stampeder
Yeah.
connections when you look here. He's been so consistent with the Bombers. What has it been the past 3 seasons with 6 sacks or something like that? He's just been super consistent, brings that veteran presence. I'm excited to see what Desmond Evans can do at defensive end. I have him penciled in as a starter right now. He has all the intangibles. He is 6'6". He has kind of the build you want, can be disruptive, had the ability to knock down passes. And he was coming out of high school, the number one defensive line prospect in the USA.
Hmm.
He was highly regarded heading into college. Hasn't quite worked out how he's wanted, and even in college, just didn't quite live up to it. Of course, goes to Tennessee Titans camp, gets cut after a few preseason games there. Can Corey Mace tap into what he can do and what his potential was, what everyone saw in him? I'm excited to see if he does do that. And yeah, I expect that group to be physical. And I mean, the linebackers, we can go into that unless you want to add something about the D line or anything you saw there.
Sure. I guess we'll touch on the D line too
Yeah.
while we're here. I mean, dominating in the trenches was really their that was Saskatchewan's bread and butter last season, right? Um, I mean, in the interior, like you mentioned, yeah, you got Sanders and Rose, who you have as your starters. Sod. I even like someone like Devin Adams, who I think showed some
Mm-hmm.
flashes even with the Bombers previously. He's now over. And then yeah, it was interesting to watch that edge battle all preseason in camp there between Desmond Evans, Justin Weaver, and even Jalen Pate, who they all still have. So it'll be interesting to see who really emerges from that group over regular season football. But yeah, this is a group that was just fantastic. Like you mentioned, they were so good at defending the run. It was really good. I wanted to talk about Josh Bell as well
Mm-hmm.
too, who I get it's Corey Mace's defense, right? But he's handing play calling duties over to Bell. Um, what have you seen? Have you seen a big difference in the defense in general, or do you think it's going to be a lot of the same stuff? Because he's inheriting a defense that finished top three in points allowed, net offense yards allowed, rushing yards allowed, sacks, turnovers forced, and second down conversion rate. The defense was great, but there has been some changes up front. So, have you seen any major changes, I guess, from a defensive standpoint with Bell now play calling?
No, nothing major. Corey Mace has often said that it's these two guys have worked collaboratively together. They've been working together for a while. It's these guys. It's not just Corey Mace's defense, is how he says it.
Uh,
He gets stuff from everyone. He talks to guys, helps them, gets their advice on what decisions to make. Yes, he's had the final say, but he said it's a collaborative defense, not a Corey Mace defense. I think you're going to get that with Josh Bell. One of the best interviews, I will say. I love talking to Josh Bell because the way he words things is always so interesting. I remember talking to him about Tavon Campbell last year and his development from just kind of that raw prospect into now a refined defensive back. And he said it was like a rose coming up through the concrete is what you got with Tavon Campbell and everything. Great
Wow.
interview. Love talking to Josh Bell. But no, I don't expect it to change much. I think they'll still lean on each other. Talking to some of the guys, I talked to Desmond Evans. It seems like there might be more ability to improvise with
Mm,
this defense with Josh Bell. It might allow guys to, hey, as long as you do your job, go out and you can go make plays. Go out and you don't have to necessarily follow the system to a T as long as you're not completely abandoning it. But
right.
go out, make plays. The ability to kind of play free, that might be a little bit more, but it's still very much those two working together. I think Corey Mace has the full trust in Josh Bell. They've been together for a long time. I think they played together as teammates before becoming coaches together. And so they know what the other person wants. And Corey Mace has said, if they didn't give Josh Bell the defensive coordinator title, someone else was
I
going
was
to
just gonna bring that
change his
up. Yeah.
mind. Yeah.
And I mean, it's been it's real interesting to hear about maybe you getting freed up a little bit. We'll talk about the DBs in a second, where that's where the Rough Riders are able to bring back that dynamic, basically the whole dynamic group. Oh, I guess the whole dynamic group outside of your nickel, if you want to count that as a defensive back. Yeah, I guess we'll. I mean, hey, let's just talk about that back end while we're here because it's really one of the best groups in the CFL. Fast, dynamic, make plays on the ball. Marcus Sales and you mentioned Devon Campbell on your corners. Former most outstanding defensive player Roland Milligan at halfback alongside DeMarcus Fields, and then you got your safety Nelson Lacombo, and then you got your new nickel and Antoine Brooks Jr. Talk to me about sort of this back end here and what you've seen in camp. If it's the same old domination that we're expecting to see, they're even deeper now, which is I think would have been one of the weaknesses of the whole defense last season was, it felt like the backup DBs were sort of getting picked on and allowing some big plays, and it seems like they've now shored that up. I thought they had a really strong group of American DBs as well that were in camp, and they've made their choice of who they'd like to keep in Hughes. So tell me about this back end.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there was a lot of talent here. Wide receiver and defensive back. They
Yeah,
brought in a lot of guys. There were some tough decisions and interesting ones that we didn't necessarily see. Benny Sapp, when he was out there last year, I thought he looked very comfortable.
agreed.
This year he gets released. So that just goes to show the talent they were able to bring in. It's going to be business as usual. This is a veteran group. They know what you have. Getting Tavon Campbell back, he missed the first week of training camp. He's back out there. And all through camp, you saw the starting defensive back group making plays. They're getting after the ball again. Even off Trevor Harris, it's not just against backups they're doing it against. They are going to be around the football again. I mean, what more can you say about Roland Milligan? We know where he's ranked one of the best halfbacks in the entire CFL. Marcus Sales, he is surprisingly physical. He lays a lot of big hits when he's out there. And you saw it already. You saw it last season as well. He's physical. He came in and really shored up that group when they brought him in after the BC
Yeah.
Lions cut him. Had a terrible first game, didn't quite know the system, has settled in and has become one of the more consistent parts of that group. DeMarcus Fields, he's kind of the one that I hear a lot of fans complain about, but he does his job. He's been in Corey Mace's defense since Corey got here. I think he's a solid halfback, even though he might not
Yeah.
necessarily get all the interceptions. He's doing his job. Tavon Campbell, super quick. We saw his speed. We know of course from his time with the U of R as a track star. He's just developed, as I mentioned with Josh Bell, more into a refined defensive back. That time in the NFL, I think, really just showed him more about being sound positionally, making plays when it matters, not always just using your speed to make up for your mistakes. Just don't make those mistakes to begin with. Nelson Lacombe, he's had a really solid camp. I thought he's been really good. He had the interception in a preseason game there. Only has one regular season interception in his entire career, but he continues to develop. And I know people, at least in Saskatchewan, want a physical safety. They want a guy like Tyrone Brackenridge who comes up and scares receivers over the middle and lays the big hit. That's not what Nelson Lacombe does. Nelson Lacombe is a super athlete. He's back there patrolling it and making sure there's no deep plays. And for the most part, that's worked. We've said with Lacombe, whatever the coaches are asking of him, he's doing because this team is not afraid to make changes. And
Right.
so he's clearly been doing what the coaches want. And Antoine Brooks Jr., I mean, it allowed them to move off CJ Rivas, who got paid, well deserved. I love what CJ brings to a defense. Absolutely. He's one I think this team could miss.
Yeah.
But the emergence of Antoine Brooks Jr. allowed them to kind of allow CJ to go get that money, because Antoine Brooks, he's another guy I'm just excited to see. Like, yes, there's some turnover, but you kind of knew what you had with Antoine Brooks Jr. He, of course, started the Grey Cup at that linebacker spot there. He looks dynamic out there. I said he needs to stop jumping when Nathan Rourke pump fakes, because Nathan Rourke a couple of times has ran around him just because he left his feet. But he brings some energy as well. He's the guy on the field you hear jawing at teammates,
Uh,
and will let teammates know about it. So it's going to be a solid group. It's veterans back. It's a group that obviously gets after the ball a lot when teams throw the football, and it should be business as usual back there for what they have.
Yeah, it's an exciting group, and with Bell now as your DC, I mean,
Yes.
he's been coaching these guys for a number of years now, and I think you could even potentially see another step up,
Mhm.
just based on that fact. And yeah, Brooks, been in Saskatchewan's program for the past couple of years now, and then rotated in more defensively late last season. Of course, like you mentioned, was ended up getting some starts toward later in the year and in the Grey Cup. I would be remiss to not mention Malcolm Bell, who I
Mhm.
feel like was just the perfect pick for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The fact he fell to them is honestly a bit shocking to me that he fell to them. I had him, yeah, I had him going as high as possibly three. I thought the Edmonton Elks could address some of their Canadian corner depth at number three, but Malcolm Bell falls to number nine. Got to ask you what you've seen from him since he's joined in camp, because feels like a very similar guy to Devon Campbell, right? Brings that size and speed combo that is laced throughout the DB room, and especially Campbell. So, what have you seen from Bell? I know there was he got called out and Keyshawn Johnson took his lunch money, but that's to be expected, I feel.
Yeah, as mentioned, Keyshawn Johnson's one of the best route runners in the entire league. That was a classic. I think Bell came in, and I loved his first interview. I wasn't there, but I heard it. Of he's not here to just be a body; he's here to be a starter.
Mm.
He wants to be a starter. I mean, maybe not week one when they first start, but he wants to be a starter. And then you kind of humble the rookie a little bit by sending him out there one on one against Keyshawn. But yes, you're right. We have to mention him because he's been so good when he's been out there in preseason. He's been
Yeah.
blanketing receivers. I thought he's been the most impressive defensive back over the first two preseason games for the Riders. He's really come in, fit in well. It helps having with Devon Campbell. We saw what happened when he was hurt last year, that 𝙬𝙬 game where Phil Pott ran roughshod over the Riders there. But Malcolm Bell, I think he could go start for teams this season. When I look at him out there playing, he's been that impressive. Yes, you're going to have some of the stuff you have to work through with a rookie, but I think he's been really good. It's a luxury that you have him back there, and I think the fact that he's on the active roster means I think they expect him to be that guy if someone goes down, to put him wherever, because he's that good. He's been everything as advertised. He was viewed as one of the more pro ready prospects in the CFL draft. He's shown it. As I mentioned, he's been the most impressive defensive back in the games, just
Yeah.
because obviously the backups get a little bit more playing time, but he stepped up to the plate for sure.
Yeah, 6'2", 190, has a ton of experience playing actually cornerback, which you don't see very many Canadian DBs who, one, have had experience playing at corner at the NCAA level and have the athleticism to remain on the outside in the pros. So very intriguing to see what Malcolm Bell does forward. And to wrap up the defense here, I guess we'll head to the inside backers, where Jameer Thurman's coming back after doing Jameer Thurman things last season. You know what he's going to bring, just in terms of being an overall solid run back linebacker, especially while defending the run. And it looks like Josh Woods is coming in on the weak side. Hey, Britain, where he's racked up 152 tackles across the last 5 seasons with the BC Lions. So talk to me what you've seen from this inside linebacker group overall.
Yeah, well, Jameer Thurman's going to be Jameer Thurman. We know how solid he's been. Uh, he's kind of been, not last season, of course, he got the all CFL nods, but in my opinion, I was shocked that he's never really been given that recognition. He's been one of the best linebackers in the CFL for a few seasons now, but he's the leader of that defense. Much like Trevor Harris, leader on offense, it's Jameer Thurman on the defensive side, the guy in the middle. So it's going to be steady as usual, I think, from him. Josh Woods, as you mentioned, he gets brought over from the BC Lions. He's looked really impressive in camp as well. So like he's really grasped the system here really quickly. He's been the guy they've been going with. And just another veteran, right? You don't want
Yeah.
rookies a bunch of spots because you don't know what they're going to give you. A steady hand there, as I mentioned. He's been impressive. I like what he's brought to this team defensively. A veteran guy. Aubrey Miller Jr. is a guy I'm very interested in. If he ever gets an opportunity, I thought he might push Woods actually for a starting spot. I
Mm.
thought it was more of a battle there than people might consider when looking at camp because Miller Jr. was out there with the starters at times. He
He's
can play.
thick, man. I
He
didn't I
is.
didn't think he was as big as he was, but watching preseason, yeah, he's been in the system for a little while now. Hey.
Mhm. Yeah, I think this will be year 3 or year 2 for sure, maybe year 3. Cutting his teeth on special teams. He was hurt a little bit last year. It came back. He's a guy I'm very intrigued by whenever he does get that opportunity, but it looks like it is going to go to Josh Woods. And I mean, Nick Weeb as well. Nick Weeb was
Yeah.
the special teams player for this team last year. What does he do again? Does he continue to develop? Malik Straker, a lot of depth here. They moved Jaden Dalkey from safety down to that linebacker spot now as a Canadian as well. But it starts with Jameer Thurman. I expect him to once again be one of the best defenders in the entire CFL and just another solid group. When you look, like I said at the start, you look at this team, it's solid even though they lost a bunch of guys.
Yeah. It's they're going to be trying to do it all over again in 2026, and I feel like they have another really good roster to go out and try and win a back-to-back Grey Cup. Only three teams have done it since the 90s, so it'll be interesting to see how that mentality is sort of shifted after they have won and now are resetting. I remember talking to Trevor Harris, and he said he thought after finally winning that Grey Cup, right? He said that um, uh, I think he waited about a week and then he started doing his offseason program the next Tuesday and then hasn't looked back since. So I feel like you're going to be still getting a hungry Saskatchewan team. I feel like that
Mm-hmm.
was what Corey Mace was banging the drum all last season, 1 week at a time, hungry, just keep improving, 1% better, that sort of mantra. And it looks like that's going to be returning in 2026. Seems like everything is behind them. Britain, I think that basically covers everything. Anything else you want to touch on? Anything else you want to say?
No, as you mentioned, the mindset, the word repeat is banned at Mosaic Stadium. The team is not talking
Okay.
about repeats. They are focusing on this season only. Veteran group, Trevor Harris, yes, he's 40, but I forget who he spoke to, if it was us as local media or who, but he said, should I be retiring? Like, am I playing bad? Why do people think I should be retiring all of a sudden? And so he takes care of his body so well. He talks about his offseason
Yeah.
training program. He looks as good as ever. I would say throughout camp, he's looked better during training camp than he did last season this season. And so I expect them to not miss a beat. And yeah, this is a team looking to make some history. The Riders have never repeated as Grey Cup champions. And with the foundation Corey Mace has laid, the amount of veterans on this team who were here last year, Trevor Harris, if he stays healthy, I see no reason why they couldn't. BC is going to make a push this year. I like the moves they made this offseason. Of course,
Yeah.
Nathan Rourke bounced back. But boy, this Riders team, I think they have what it takes to do it.
Well, all that's left to do is just the football to be played, right? And we are right around the corner. Of course, the Roughrider season isn't, but CFL season starting in what near, I guess like 36 hours or something from now. With that said, feel free to, if you're still here, like, subscribe. Thanks for hanging out. Honestly, it's nice to just talk some ball with people around the CFL. So, Britton, where can the people find your stuff?
Find me on X at Britton Gray, just my name. CJME.com, CKOM.com. That's where you can find my articles. Also, the Green Zone, you can listen to that live through there. That's where I do my football hits. Obviously, that's the sports show for us. And then on YouTube, Jamie Nye and I do a podcast called The Blitz the Podcast, which you can find on the Green Zone YouTube page for your more specific rider stuff, but other CFL talk as well.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you guys watching and take care. Let's happy CFL season.